first day I put on the badge, I was told things could never change. Gotham was corrupt. GCPD was corrupt. Criminals and lowlives ran things. You just showed me different.
Well, hello and welcome back, guys, to yet another one of my Gotham videos and my review of the fall finale of Season 3. So Gotham's fall finale was a pretty good fall finale in my opinion. I mean, as far as DC TV fall finales go this week, The Flash did hit jackpot, but nonetheless, this one was pretty good. Now, before this season came to air its premiere, and during San Diego Comic-Con to be exact, we were told by Ben McKenzie that this season's front half is gonna be representative of the show's version of the comic book arc, The Long Halloween. We were also told that the back half is gonna be representative of the show's version of the comic book Year 1 arc. And over the course of this fall finale, we did actually get a few Easter eggs towards the ending of The Long Halloween and the beginning of Year 1. So let's just start off by getting these Easter eggs and references out of the way first, and then discussing the details of the events of this episode. Number 1. The return of Don Falcone. Now, while this hasn't been really the case during the front half of the season, Don Falcone does play a major role in the comic book Long Halloween arc. I mean, he's introduced at the beginning like he's the villain of the arc, even though the villain ends up being someone totally different, that being the Holiday Killer. But nonetheless, it was very suiting bringing him back at the very end of this arc. Number 2, my favorite movie of all time happens to be The Godfather. And the very first time I went through the pages of The Long Halloween, I felt this Godfather vibe to it. But it was not just a feeling of mine right there, because it was pretty clear that Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale were inspired in their writing and art by The Godfather. That kind of inspiration, though, was very specific to the Falcone and the Maroni families over the pages of that 13-issue arc. So for a while now, I've been wondering if they'll have something akin to that over the course of this arc on the show. And it did finally happen on the fall finale, even though it was a reference to The Godfather Part 3, which is my least favorite in the entire trilogy. So there it was, the scene where he first made his appearance on this episode, talking about his imminent death and caring only about his family. And that was pretty much what The Godfather Part 3 was all about. Michael Corleone trying to pull out of any illegitimate business, trying to get all his businesses legitimate, trying to get back into the good graces of his kids, caring about family. Now, Don Falcone's death as well could be considered a reference to Michael Corleone dying at the end of The Godfather Part 3. However though, and in my opinion, it's more a reference to number 3, Carmine Falcone does die as well at the very end of the comic book Long Halloween arc. Now, the comic book Long Halloween arc is a little bit more complicated than the one on the show. The main culprit in that arc was someone called the Holiday Killer, someone who started terrorizing the Falcone family starting on one Halloween and ending on the following Halloween. The Holiday Killer over there used to kill a member of the Falcone family on every single holiday occasion throughout an entire year. And on the 13th and final issue of the arc, Carmine Falcone ends up dead on Halloween at the hands of the Holiday Killer. Now, the complication about the Long Halloween comic book arc is that 3 people went by the name Holiday Killer throughout the entire arc. We all know that all the way from the first Halloween and through Christmas, it was always Gilda Dent, Harvey Dent's wife. But between Christmas and the following Halloween, we have no idea which murders were perpetrated by Alberto Falcone and which by Harvey Dent. However though, the fact that Sofia Falcone was behind the murder of Carmine Falcone on this episode is totally a reference to both. 1. Alberto Falcone being the Holiday Killer at some point down the road during the events of the Long Halloween comic book arc. And 2. Carmine Falcone dying, even if in the comic book arc he did die at the hands of none other than Two-Face. Number 5. The motives for Alberto Falcone for becoming the Holiday Killer, they were pretty similar to the motives of Sofia Falcone for killing her father. Now, on the pages of The Long Halloween, it does become pretty clear that Alberto Falcone is suffering from the very same thing that Sofia is suffering from over the course of this arc of the season. So pretty much Alberto Falcone resorted to becoming the Holiday Killer because he always thought his father felt he was the weakling of the family. And the very same thing applies to Sofia Falcone. She came to Gotham to prove to her father that she was worthy, and she ended up killing him because he never believed she was. Number 6. Sofia Falcone becoming the Queen of Gotham is pretty much what happened post the Long Halloween arc in the comics. The only thing different here is she was his henchwoman throughout the Long Halloween arc and never had animosities with him. Number 7. Sofia Falcone does make enemies with both Jim Gordon and Batman post along Halloween, and that is all part of her seeking revenge for the death of her father, just like she's now seeking revenge against Jim Gordon for the killing of Mario. Number 8. Bruce Wayne with 2 girls in bed. Even though not his intention, it does build up towards the womanizing persona that he has in the comics. Now the show seems to have decided to go a different way with this, starting with him actually being a womanizing person and then switching it into an act later on. But nonetheless, similar scenes are basically integral to the Year 1 arc from the comics, which we're going to be watching a version of over the back half of the season. I vividly remember one of those scenes on the pages of that arc when Jim Gordon starts suspecting Bruce Wayne is Batman. So yeah, whatever's going on right now with Bruce Wayne is most probably going to be coming in handy over the course of the back half of the season. But to get over and done with the Easter eggs and references on this episode, number 9. The entire conversation between Bruce and Alfred close to the end, specifically the part about the Alps. Now I kinda thought that was gonna go through because of the beginning of the Year 1 arc, and if I remember correctly, Bruce was coming back from the Alps after 12 years of absence away from Gotham. The Year 1 arc in the comics is basically a Batman Begins sort of arc. At its very beginning, Bruce Wayne is returning to his hometown after 12 years of absence and training to start his career as the Bat of Gotham. And even though this Easter egg didn't really materialize into anything over the course of this fall finale, we do kinda know where they're gonna be heading when the show returns from its break. But now that I'm done anyway with these Easter eggs and references, let's talk the events of this episode, and it was pretty eventful. Number 1. So we do not really know what's going on with Nigma right there. I mean, he's still trying to resist this Riddler persona from coming out and taking over. And this finale kind of made it clear beyond reasonable doubt that he is pretty affected and influenced by his relationship with Lee Tompkins. So this entire pull-push situation going on between him being Ed the Riddler and Lee's friend Ed, I think it's gonna go for a while more. Number 2. It is always good hearing the Solomon Grundy song. However though, this is not really my point here. My point is that Solomon Grundy is no more just Solomon Grundy. He's basically had his memory of being Butch Gilzean restored by the end of the episode after taking a whole lot of beatings from Tabitha. And that was kinda really good because that left like a loose end that they haven't tied for so long. For the past few weeks, I was kinda wondering why Tabitha was not attempting at all to restore the memories of Butch to Solomon Grundy. Number 3. Now, I'm not really sure if the show's arc titled A Dark Knight is over yet. Now last year, and on season 3, we got the Mad City arc, which ran for 11 episodes, with the 11th being the fall finale. Gotham then returned for 3 episodes, episodes 12 through 14, which were still part of Mad City. And surprisingly enough, the 3 episodes, which composed the winter portion of the season, were all Jerome-centric episodes. And that basically kind of seems to be what we're heading into. So pretty much, Gotham seems to be making Jerome the winter villain for every season. This time around though, it seems he's gonna be having an ally in Oswald Cobblepot. Number 4. I think one of my favorite parts of the season so far is every single scene with the Gotham City Sirens. Barbara, Selina, and Tabitha are pretty badass together. But speaking of Barbara, and as the title of this video indicates, there are still a couple of things that needs to be answered when it comes to her. We do know that she probably got revived after the events of the season 3 finale by none other than the Lazarus Pit. And while so far we've seen no Lazarus Pit effects on her, I'm expecting we're going to be seeing that on the second half of the season. I'm also expecting that we're going to get to find out what was it that Ra's al Ghul passed on to her during that visit she paid him in jail on the episode he ended up dying on. Number 5. I freaking called it. Now early on during the events of this season, I did upload a video stating how Sofia Falcone is gonna end up being the major villain of this arc of the season, if not the entire season. And I guess I was most definitely right to assume so. Sofia though, and very much to my liking, has been a very well developed villain from the beginning of the season. Now a couple of weeks back I did have the idea that Professor Pig might be working with Sofia in order to make Penguin look bad. And I was kind of planning to mention it on my review video that followed that thought coming to my mind. And that was pretty much the very same week where they had him stab her in the hand during that party or fundraiser or whatever. And I totally applaud Gotham here because I was totally thrown off that idea by that very scene. Number 6. Once again, I totally called this one as well. In a conversation that was sparked by one of the commenters to my videos, I did talk about how Victor would be changing. Now when you think about it, Victor is a hardcore criminal However though, after years and years of working with a certain boss, these kind of criminals usually have a certain kind of loyalty to them. And in this case, Victor Zsasz did have a whole lot of that to Don Falcone. I personally believe that Victor Zsasz was pretty much the star of this episode. I mean, at the least, he did have a lot of amazing one-liners. And my favorite of those was his description of Jim Gordon. While every cop in Gotham is behind him, I'm guessing he has great leadership skills. Number 7. Now I know a lot of fans were expecting Penguin to come out the victor out of all of this, but it does kind of make perfect sense that he didn't. Oswald was always smart enough, but he wasn't as smart as Sofia Falcone over the course of the season. And surprisingly, she was extremely smart. I mean, everything that happened over the course of the season, or almost everything, has been attributable to her magnificent plan. Number 8. Now there's one thing that I did not like about this episode, which is the fact that it did not give us a glimpse of Lee Tompkins. However though, I would have totally hated it if it didn't give us a glimpse of Harvey. And Harvey's showing up again was pretty good, giving Jim an idea on how he could take down Penguin. But what really made him showing up more fun though was the fact that we got to find out that his relationship with Jim was actually salvageable. But finally though, number 9. By the end of this fall finale, Jim Gordon is in a very bad spot. Sofia Falcone just about managed to put his efforts to a halt, to sort of corrupt him, and hence the title of the episode, Queen Takes Knight, with the Queen being Sofia Falcone and the Knight being Jim Gordon. But moving on to speak of the return of the season for its back half, there is a lot we can expect. Number 1, Bruce Wayne is gonna be wearing that mask and that costume again, it's only a matter of time. Number 2, Jim Gordon is gonna be on Bruce Wayne's ass, trying to find out who's under that mask. Number 3, Sofia Falcone is gonna be wreaking havoc all over Gotham, tormenting Jim at every corner. Number 4, we're probably gonna get to find out what kind of powers Ra's al Ghul passed on to Barbara. Number 5, we're probably gonna get to see the effects of the Lazarus Pit on both Barbara and Alfred. Number 6, we're gonna be seeing a Jerome/Penguin specific arc for the next 3 episodes. Number 7, we're still gonna be seeing a struggle between Edward Nygma and the Riddler over the course of the next few episodes, before he probably ends up being the Riddler once again. Number 8, I would expect that Jim Gordon is probably going to find out that Lee Tompkins is still in Gotham and have to deal with the aftermath of such realization. Number 9, we're going to see Solomon Grundy with the Butch memories, so I'm basically expecting he's going to sort of try to exact revenge on anyone who's harmed him over the years. And finally, number 10, Poison Ivy is gonna be back, portrayed by Peyton List this time around. And based on the episode trailer, we're gonna be seeing a typical Poison Ivy Bruce Wayne relationship from the comics. Now that one in specific happens to be one of the things that is missing from the front half of the season as part of the Long Halloween comic book arc. During that arc, she ends up tricking Bruce Wayne into having a relationship with her, using her powers. And the one who ends up getting Bruce out of this and saving him happens to be Selina Kyle. So I'm also expecting that to happen over the course of the back half of the season. However though, and for the time being, I have nothing more to say on the fall finale of Gotham. It was a pretty good, pretty entertaining episode. I think the back half of the season is gonna be just as amazing. But do let me know in the comments what you thought of this episode. What did you think of all the comic book Long Halloween Easter eggs hidden in plain sight on this episode? And what do you think is gonna happen once the show returns? But let me know as well if you like the content of this video by dropping it a much appreciated like. And remember, it is also much appreciated if you subscribe and enable notifications for my future videos. Do remember as well to tune in for my bonus videos during the upcoming period. But until I see you next time, thank you all for watching and have a good one.